Hey everyone, before we jump into today's chapter, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you'll never miss a new audiofic. Your support really helps keep these stories coming. Now, let's dive in. The year 2026. Willow looked into the eye of the brunette lying beneath her. The redhead gently caressed the woman's scarred cheek, then brushed her fingertips along her forehead and along the scar visible at the edges of the eye patch. It had been nearly 15 years since the end of all things, and at that very moment, all Willow wanted to do was love the woman she was gazing down at. Dawn looked up with longing and a deep, unshakable sadness, her fingertips tracing the curve of Willow's spine while her other hand held firmly to her hip. Their hands roamed over each other's naked bodies as they lay together in a tent deep within an underground cave system just outside what used to be Sunnydale. The event that had come to be known as the end of all things needed to be stopped before it could ever happen. Willow and the woman lying beneath her, her dead friend's sister, had spent years traveling in secret, cloaked in powerful magic, searching for a spell, a very particular spell, one that could send a single person back through time. Eventually, they found it in the ruins of a magic shop in what had once been the Magic Underground, an area of London that catered to witches and other magical beings. With the spell in hand, they returned to Los Angeles, where they met Riley Finn in an underground base built decades earlier by the Initiative. Willow and several witches had warded the base to hide them from the being responsible for the end. The wards would hold, at least until the moment the spell was cast. It was too powerful to conceal entirely, but it would buy them enough time to reach the final phase, a journey through the underground tunnels leading to the outskirts of the Sunnydale crater. A series of events led to the end, Dawn said as she looked up at Willow, caressing her cheek. And you're sending me back to the beginning. Yeah, Willow's voice was soft as she gazed down at the young woman. Once you change the past, once you step into it, you'll create another branch of time. At least that's one theory. This timeline will still exist, but I'll be in an alternate one, Dawn finished for her, tears welling in her single good eye. Willow wiped them away, then looked at the moisture glistening on her fingertips. Slowly she brought her finger to her lips and kissed it. Her throat tightened as she thought about the woman beneath her, a woman she had fallen in love with because of the life they had shared in the shadow of the end. Or, Willow continued, you could go back and change this timeline completely with your first action. Either way, you can't come back here. Her voice broke as she whispered, eyes closed, and I'll lose the three people I've ever truly loved. First Oz, then Tara, and now you. I know we're supposed to start the ritual in 12 hours, Dawn whispered, and I know we have all these Marines and soldiers helping us, but her wandering hand stilled, coming to rest against the back of Willow's head. I just want to forget all of that for now. Can we have this? Just tonight. Just us. I love you, Willow whispered. Dawn's grip tightened, pulling her down into a kiss. Willow returned it as a golden shimmer rose around the tent, forming a soundproof dome. Outside, the military personnel who had followed them here understood this was the last mission they would ever undertake. They had already begun to make peace with their mortality in this new, ruined age. None of them heard the soft gasps and murmurs beneath the golden dome as Willow and Dawn surrendered themselves to each other, cherishing the only moment they had left. Sunnydale Crater. Dawn, wearing a sleeveless shirt and torn jeans with a handgun holstered to the belt on her right hip, stood bathed in a blue light as a purple haze swirled in front of her. To her left, Willow chanted steadily, surrounded by more than 300 Marines and soldiers. They fired relentlessly at the oncoming demons, creatures that crawled, slithered, or towered high on two legs. These were far worse than any Dawn and Willow had faced before. They had crushed the native demons of this dimension into dust. Glancing upward at the blood-red sky, Dawn saw hundreds of winged demons approaching, their bone-rattling roars shaking her to the core. Screams rang out from the ranks of soldiers and marines. Dawn turned to see the men and women assigned to protect them being cut to ribbons. Whipping her head back toward Willow, she froze. Willow's eyes were now jet black, so was her hair. "Willow!" Dawn shouted over the chaos. "Come with me. Please, we can have a life. You and me, we'll change the future. We can have the life we want." "This spell only sends one person back to the past," Willow yelled, straining to maintain control of the haze. "I have to hold the door open, then shut it down from this side after you go, to make sure no one ever comes through again. Now go!" Drawing in what remained of Earth's uncorrupted magic, Willow focused on stabilizing the swirling haze until it formed a breach. "I love you, Dawn. Now go. I can't hold it for long. Go." Dawn hesitated, just for a heartbeat. For Willow, time seemed to slow. She saw Dawn's face, and memories rushed in. Their time together after Kennedy's death. How Dawn had stood by her. How Willow had been there when Dawn's sister, Buffy, was torn apart by these new demons. Those tragedies had bound them in ways she had never imagined. Willow wanted Dawn safe. She wanted her to live. "Earth's magic is already corrupted. You know why you're going back. Save all of us. The breach will take you close to Buffy, right before the portal forms. You'll have maybe 20 to 30 minutes to get there, just enough time to reach the spot where she died and ugh!" A sharp, sudden pain tore through Willow's chest. Her eyes went wide as she looked down to see a blood-covered, clawed hand protruding from her chest. Dawn's horrified scream cut through the battlefield noise. Willow met Dawn's gaze, her expression softening. "Go," she whispered, before beginning the incantation that would seal the breach after Dawn crossed through, even as her life ebbed away, even as blood trickled down her lips. Behind her, the one-horned demon roared in triumph. Dawn saw more demons swarming past the demon who now held Willow aloft. Her heart wrenched, but she knew Willow was right. Going back in time was the only way to stop this future, the only way to prevent the living dimension known as Twilight from consuming their world. Their eyes locked one final time. Dawn whispered goodbye, then hurled herself into the breach. Willow stopped chanting, letting the portal collapse behind Dawn. She smiled faintly as the last of her strength drained away. Through the haze of pain, she saw the ghosts of Buffy, Xander, and Giles standing before her. "I'm coming, guys," she whispered. "And Buffy, don't be mad at me. I love her." The demon used the claws on its other hand to behead her, just as the ghosts of her friends reached for her. After the darkness took her, her body was thrown aside where hundreds of demons feasted, ripping her apart. Sunnydale High, 11 p.m., year 2001. Dawn fell from the portal onto what remained of the front lawn of the destroyed Sunnydale High. She rolled forward as the time breach closed behind her, then got to her feet. Quickly checking her body for injuries, she pushed her anguish down into the depths of her soul before running as fast as she could toward the junkyard where the Hell God Glory had built her tower, the same tower she had planned to use to bleed Dawn. In truth, it had been the demon known as Doc who bled her younger self over the very spot that would open a special portal, a portal that led to every single hell dimension, a portal that would have brought hell to Earth, at least until it was closed after Buffy sacrificed her life. Dawn and Willow, at least their future selves, knew that incident was one of two main keys to changing the future. It took Dawn nearly 10 minutes of running before the tower came into view in the distance. As she sprinted, her mind drifted to her previous timeline. She remembered Buffy dying in front of her, torn apart. The leader of the Slayer army had been the 1667th to fall. Dawn tried not to think about it, but that was the day she went into shock. She hadn't moved or eaten for days, while Willow did everything she could to pull her back from the brink. Tears welled in Dawn's eye as she remembered her Willow, who had lost Kennedy in the first interdimensional demon attack 15 years earlier, after Twilight gained a foothold in the Earth dimension and corrupted the Seed of Wonder. 6 out of 7 billion people wiped out in a matter of days, she thought grimly. After Kennedy's death, Dawn had been the one to pull Willow out of her depression, while Buffy led armies in the counterattack, to hold the line until a better plan could be devised. But the Buffy from the older Dawn's timeline would never live to see that plan put into action. It had been a crazy plan, and now it was on the verge of success. Reaching the junkyard, Dawn looked up and saw her younger self tied to 2 posts on either side of a platform jutting out from the tower. She drew her weapon, chambered around, then holstered it back again. Below, a crowd of Glory's victims, people with their mental energy drained, milled about alongside her minions. They were pushed aside by an unseen force. Dawn knew it was the younger Willow using magic to clear a path for Spike, who then sprinted up the metallic stairs toward the platform above. Taking a deep breath, Dawn rushed into the junkyard, weaving past fallen minions and dazed humans. Out of the corner of her eye, she spotted Willow and Xander taking cover behind some equipment, watching the platform above. Her heart lifted at the sight of the younger Willow, but she shoved the feeling down and kept running up the stairs. When she was nearly at the top, she saw Spike thrown from the platform by Doc. "Doc!" she shouted, charging up the last few steps. Doc turned at the sound of her voice, tilting his head in confusion before glancing toward the younger Dawn behind him, who stared wide-eyed past him. An older version of herself, with an eye patch over one eye, was striding forward. "This is interesting," "This is interesting," Doc mused, turning back to the older Dawn, glaring back at him. "Two of you." "Leave, Doc," the older Dawn warned, her hand resting on the butt of her gun. "Leave now and I don't kill you." The demon chuckled, clapping his hands together. "I take it you're from an alternate dimension? Where the great glorificus... My world is worse for everyone," the older Dawn interrupted, taking another step forward, "including the demons. I'm not here to explain things to you. I'm here to stop you. So, either you leave her alone, or I end you." "No," Doc leaned forward, mouth opening. Dawn remembered this moment from her own past. His tongue was about to shoot out. Thanks to training from Riley and others after Twilight's rise, Dawn rolled forward, avoiding the whipping motion of Doc's tongue. In one fluid motion, she drew her gun and fired 3 rounds into his chest. The younger Dawn screamed as the shots echoed, drawing the attention of Willow and the others. Buffy, having just beaten Glory bloody with Olaf the Troll's hammer, froze on the stairs at the sound of gunfire. Giles, already in the process of suffocating Ben, Glory's human prison, finished the job and rushed toward Willow's group while watching Buffy race upward. On the platform, Doc staggered back toward the younger Dawn, black blood pouring from the wounds in his chest. "Even if you'd left, I would have found you and killed you," the older Dawn growled out, smashing the butt of her gun into the side of his face. Doc tumbled off the platform to the ground below. Holstering her weapon, she rushed to untie her younger self. "Did he cut you?" she demanded. No, the younger Dawn stammered, still staring at the scarred face of the woman she realized was her older self. Who are you sure you're not cut?" The older Dawn pressed, pulling her away from the edge of the overhanging platform to the other side of the tower near the stairs. She then began patting her younger self down to check for wounds. You're not cut. Dawn, stepping back, staring at her younger self, then looked down at her shaking hands. "She was right," the older Dawn whispered. "I'm somewhere else. I changed the timeline. I hope. I branched it into a new one." Are you really me?" the younger Dawn asked, just as Buffy's voice rang out. "Buffy, I'm okay," the younger Dawn called, watching Buffy rush up the final flight of stairs. "What happened? I heard..." Buffy stopped dead at the sight of someone who looked like an older version of her sister. "Dawn?" "She saved me," the younger Dawn said quickly. Buffy's eyes locked on the older Dawn's single tear-filled eye, her bottom lip trembling. You, you're alive, the older Dawn said, voice breaking as she took a step toward Buffy. You're alive. Donnie? Buffy asked softly. The older Dawn closed the distance, crumpling down to her knees and wrapping her arms tightly around the Slayer's waist. She pressed her head against Buffy's abdomen and began to sob uncontrollably. Buffy could only stare down at the woman clinging to her, then over to the younger Dawn, who stood just as bewildered. To be continued.